Everybody, welcome to Snow Talk. Way Through News meteorologist Brian Good here with just my camera. Been off a few days, but I've been talking to a lot of you on Twitter. I know the past several days it's been a busy time. A lot of model data being thrown all over the place, and gets chaotic. But as we've been trying to stress, you got to take these one at a time because it's a cause and effect. One system can certainly affect the other when it comes to outcomes. So really, when it comes to the Friday system, Thursday night, I should say, into Friday, we're really not going to get a handle on this until we get through this system for tomorrow morning. And then we're really going to see some good agreement, I'd say, by the midday model runs for tomorrow, about 24 hours from now, basically. But I'm going to split the blog up here. I'm going to do focus mainly on this first event, and then we'll get into Friday's event later this evening. I'll do another blog update, but I don't have enough time to do both in one yet. So there we go. First off, cold outside, 19 degrees at Fort Knox, 18 here in the city of Louisville. The dew point, though, way far from our current temperature. It's at -1. So when you get a gap between the two numbers, your dew point and your actual temperature, it tells you how dry you are. The closer they are together, the more moist you are. We call that a dew point depression. We'll get into that in a second because that's going to be at least an initial factor for tomorrow morning. Sunshine now, clouds streaming in from the west. That is actually the snow that is now breaking out in Missouri and in portions of Omaha, and it'll stretch its legs into our area after midnight for tonight. The alerts are out. Winter weather advisories in effect for all of Missouri and just about all of Kentucky. There's a winter alert. But in Kentucky, we're kind of splitting our southern counties. Winter storm watch for the Paducah office for western Kentucky, and the Louisville office has upgraded their counties. Our southern tier, Grayson, Hart, Greene, and into Taylor, kicking in at 2 a.m. tonight for the potential for heavier snow amounts. So let me show you Futurecast. The snow begins to move in from our west around midnight. After midnight, it'll break out in the area, but keep in mind some of this will be slow to fall. It'll begin as flurries, and then eventually work its way into snow showers towards sunrise. Notice the temperatures, though. Still very cold, teens to around 20 degrees. That is going to affect snow ratios, and that's one of the factors that allowed them to upgrade the southern counties into a warning status. We'll cover that in a second. The highest snow potential is probably going to be between 8 and 10 here in Louisville down to I-65. Then after that, dry air begins to work its way in again, and we do warm up, though. We're going to keep warming up to around 32. Could be a little bit of freezing drizzle, in fact. We warm up so much later on Wednesday night, but most of the snow at that point will be out of here, so no worries about it changing over during the height of the event. I mentioned the dew point issue. Here's what we call a dew point depression. This gives us a number of how far apart the dew point and the temperature are, and you can see we got values of 8 to 10 around 3 o'clock in the morning tonight over central Kentucky. So it does tell us that initially it is going to be virga or precipitation on the radar, but doesn't reach the ground. Initially, we eat away at this moisture, leading edge of it as flurries. But by the time we get into 8 o'clock in the morning, we're saturated. And what's coming down, it's coming down at a decent clip around the area. Did notice, too, this is hard to see, but here's Louisville, by the way. Let me get this drawn. Here's the Louisville area, and these are lapse rates. And there's an enhanced area of lapse rates, and this could help promote the idea of maybe some better upper motion across western and southern Kentucky, and maybe some banding features as far north as even Bullitt County. So this is something we'll have to watch carefully and trend on the high-res models as we get a little closer, but there could be some locally enhanced totals because of this feature. Nothing off the chain, but locally enhanced. Now let's talk about ratios. This is the sounding from the NAM model. Again, you read this right to left in time. This is the first system coming in Wednesday. This is the one Friday. Do not pay attention to that right now. I'll come back to that tonight. But here's the snow ratio, this blue line. And again, we start off very cold, teens to around 20, and then the ratio catches up as we warm up, getting closer to the 10 to 12 range, what is normal around here. But by that point, you notice, by the time it gets there, we shut off the snow machine. So a lot of the snow is going to fall in the higher ratio, which right now, if we were to draw a line, which I can't do very well, 16, 17 to 1. Is the snow ratio. You factor that in, the model has given us an idea that 2.2 will fall, but about 1.4 will likely accumulate, and that is based on that higher ratio for Louisville. This is the sounding for the Louisville area, so about 1 to 2 inches is what it's saying from the GFS. The NAM model is also picking up on the idea that later on tonight, around midnight, you see that dry air at the surface. Saturated, these two lines closer together they're saturated, but that does happen quickly by the time we get at 8 a.m. Fully saturated. Also can look at the values here. Now it's hard to read, but it's 700 millibars on up. We're in the 90 percentile range here across the northern or the upper layers of the atmosphere all the way to the surface. So very saturated in the morning. So pretty good chance here on this being snow falling in the area. By the afternoon, actually by midday, we begin though to see the lines spread apart in the northern part of the atmosphere. Drying begins to take over. And and because of that, we begin to shut off the intensity of the snow, and we can even see the values drop here, 700 to 500 millibars. The moisture begins to really drop off, and becomes more snow showers and flurries really by the afternoon. Snow ratios from the NAM model, again, ignore Friday. We'll get to that. But on Friday, it's given us a very similar setup here. We've got some high ratios that eventually drop, but by that point, again, we lose a lot of the snow. So it's mainly going to be a high ratio snow event, the way it is looking. And when you add these values up, roughly 15 to 17 to 1, very similar. The NAM model, though, does have a little more moisture to work with, so that's why the number is a little higher. It's given us 3.1 actually falls in Louisville, but 2.3 would be the more likely amount that would accumulate. So they give us a range of maybe 2 to 3 inches in the city of Louisville. So nothing off the chain. This is not a major winter storm, but it makes a difference on placing the advisories and where to place warnings at, and that makes it a bit of a challenge. The SREF model, by the way, is really getting good, concise agreement on this. Its range overall is 0 to 4, but the average is holding steady now for several runs, right at 2 inches for the Louisville area. The computer models kind of vary. The NAM model is aiming, again, mainly in our southwest counties here where that better lapse rates are, and more than likely the better higher ratios, too, to get some snow. RPM, not too far off. It's updating still every few hours, so we'll see this change often. GFS, not too off the chain either. Again, picking up on the higher moisture amounts combined with a higher ratio. More than likely, it's going to be focused south of the 64 area, and then the Euro is pretty similar as well. So it's nothing really has changed other than the idea that there could be a better chance to see a less changeover to any type of freezing drizzle here in our southern counties, which was a concern initially. You will likely see all snow now for our southern counties, and you have the chance then to take a better advantage of the moisture, the higher ratios as well. And because of that, your totals could average out between 4, maybe 5 inches. 6 would be the extreme. Don't look at the 6. It's a range. I think 4 to 5 is probably going to be a common theme, and that's why we have the warning out for our far southern tier. 2 inches is going to be very common in that stripe here across the Louisville area, as you saw in the models. Anywhere from 1 to 2 to 2 to 3 is what the soundings are saying. So 2 to 4 would put us pretty close to that range, again, right around 2 in Louisville, and then it drops off quickly. The more north and east you go, the moisture machine just isn't there. So there's not a whole lot to work with on that category. So there you have it, guys. That's system number 1. Again, begins late tonight, 3 to 4 a.m. We'll begin to see flurries, black breakout by 6 a.m., decent snow showers through about 10 a.m. Then after 10 a.m. to noon, the heavier snow showers begin to ease and push off to the south, and we get into flurries. So this is going to be mainly a 6 a.m. to noon event where the heaviest snow and the most impacts will take place. And it is going to be a high-impact event in some cases, especially off to the south there on 65. So lots to go over. We're going to go over more data that's coming in right now, and then, of course, we'll tackle the Friday system in more detail on the blog here later on for this evening. All right, guys. Busy week ahead. Probably the busiest week we're going to see for the winter season, at least we hope. All right, here we go. Have fun. Stay tuned. Stay close to the changes. There will be some mini changes, so don't hold this forecast in stone. Talk to you later.